Hi, it's Murray here again with the week 5 wrap for project management. I'm going to wrap up not only the discussion forum this week, but in fact the entire module because it's the last week. Hasn't time flown? And the discussion for this week was about what's changed in your project. There were some great responses. Thank you again. Quite a lot of discussion around the scope having changed. Perhaps that isn't just over the last 5 weeks, but certainly asking you to examine your project from many angles, I think, has opened up a number of ideas for you and perhaps changed the project in some ways. Or just given you more insight. I think an example of that is many people suggested that they had a greater appreciation of who the stakeholders are in their project through this process that we've gone through. I'm not actually going to spend that much time on the discussion forum this week. I'm really going to give a wrap of the whole module very briefly. I'm going to return it to a technique that I used earlier on. I think it was in the orientation week, in the pre-module week. I used this technique of asking myself questions because I'm the only one here that I can really talk to. It would be nice to see you in person, but here we are all scattered across the country. I'm going to prompt myself with, what's the first one? Wait, there's a prize? What prize? Yes, there is a prize for engagement in the module. There will be, or has been, I'm not sure which, an email going out to announce this, but if the email hasn't gone out yet, the winner is, drumroll please, April. No actual surprises, is there? April was an absolute star in the discussion forum, contributing. I think April might have had more posts than I had. So thank you so much, April. There were more winners. April certainly rounded out the top of the stars, but other stars included Lolita, Melissa Moms, and Katie Cow, who also were absolute gems within the forum, both raising really interesting issues, being supportive of other participants, and so thank you so much, and just shining light on your own experience and helping others to share their experiences as well. Perhaps there were some other honourable mentions who nearly made the winners list. So with honourable mentions, Ella, Claire, and Sarah, thank you also. You really contributed well to the forum. Next question. What should I have learned from this module? A good time to ask, given that we're about to finish it. It's a good time to reflect on what it is that were the most important parts. And if you look back at the information that we've given, the learning objectives from the outset, they all revolve around understanding concepts that have been integral to what we've been discussing: scope and time and cost and quality, stakeholders, deliverables, all of these sorts of things. And I am hoping that these are making a lot more sense to you now. What I was hoping to get a bit more in depth into for now is, what are the principles overall that you should be taking away from this module? So maybe I'll raise a few here. Feel free to put others in the discussion forum if there's some overall principles that you've learned. One, that even though projects can be completely different in nature, both within research and other projects as well. I mean, the concepts that we've covered, scope, quality, stakeholders, they apply to all projects. So even though there is a whole range of projects, the same processes can apply. And we've been looking at a lot of processes, and in this case now, some principles that apply to all projects. That's why we've taken the approach in this module of using project management concepts, generic concepts, and applying them to research. Research has been the kind of project that we've been focusing on. But you can apply these principles to any project. Another principle is that projects are likely to change over time. There's been a lot of discussion about how the scope completely seems to change. It's so annoying, isn't it? We have these ideas about what we want the project to be, and it doesn't always work out that way. I think it's probably best to assume that it's going to change and that it might not be like what you thought it was going to be from the outset. In fact, I think there's a lot less stress once you accept that a project is going to change throughout the entire process. Until you finally put an end to the project, it's going to be changing. So if you accept that, that's just part of running a project, I think you'll be a lot happier in the projects that you're involved in. It's a lot less stressful that way. What else? I think a key thing is that the project management process shows the importance of setting objectives so that you know what you're aiming for. And so then the direction that you're going is always aligned with the objectives. In life, I think we have a tendency to only have a very indistinct knowledge of where we're heading quite often. So in projects, that clear boundaries, boundary setting perhaps, is absolutely essential. It helps everyone come on board. Everyone knows where you're going, and most importantly, you know where you're going. Ultimately though, perhaps if there's only one message I'd like you to get from this module, is the importance of being systematic in your approach to projects. It's important to find the processes that are appropriate in all situations so that you can best, once you've set your objectives, so that you can get there successfully. It always involves being systematic about it and following a process that suits you. It might be a different process than the person next to you. It's certainly going to be a different context. By way of example, when I was doing my PhD, I decided that my processes around publication were getting out of control and I needed to systematize it. It wasn't really part of a standard project management approach, this idea of recording what publications I wanted to complete and how I was going with them. So I put together a little table that you can see there, where it was my publication plan. And all I did really was list a bunch of topics that I hoped I could publish on, listed some collaborators, your stakeholders that I thought could be involved. I investigated where it might be possible to publish these publications, and made some notes on on tracking of the publications and how that was going. That's just one tip that might be useful to researchers that you probably won't find in project management guidelines because it's particular to research. In the end, I'd listed I'd listed 16 potential publications from my PhD, and ultimately got to publish 8 of them. So not a bad effort, I suppose. There's still a lot on the back burner. Probably won't get published now, but perhaps can be future research. Next question. Now that you are so knowledgeable and so enthusiastically embrace project management, the question is, should I apply project management processes to the rest of my life? Absolutely. Well, maybe. I think it could be useful in some instances. That was one process within my life that seemed to be outside of the standard processes that I've given. I don't know about applying it to all your relationships. Perhaps one key thing would be to make sure that all your stakeholders are involved. So if you're intending to start Gantt charts for your week at home with your family, as long as they're into Gantt charts as well, I think that could be successful. But as long as you bring your stakeholders along with you, it can be a good idea. At least perhaps going back to the earlier principle of knowing what your objectives are. Knowing what your objectives are in life can be useful in applying some of these principles that you've learned for project management to the rest of what you do. So even though it was a little bit of a joke question, maybe it's for you. I don't know. Could be. How do I give you feedback about this module? Well, I'm glad you've asked, because our wonderful eGrad School coordinator, Alexandra, will be sending you an invitation to complete a short survey about how this module went. There's a couple of uses that we request your participation in the survey. One, it helps to justify my existence, my performance within my role in this module. But perhaps more importantly, it helps to inform improvements that we can make, and also highlights what worked well. For example, last semester when we ran this module, I received quite a bit of feedback that participants would like more information about Gantt charts. So I actually, on basis of that feedback, created the Gantt charts. We didn't actually have any Gantt charts in the module, so I created those 2 Gantt charts that you would have been doing this week with different levels of complexity, just directly as a result of your requests. So please make some requests as well within that feedback. We really do read it all and take it on board. That's it. That wraps up the final wrap-up. I wish you all the best for your research projects, and in fact, if you're applying project management processes to the rest of your life. It's been a pleasure to engage with you in the Zoom and in the online discussion, and I wish you all the best with your projects, your research projects in particular. Bye for now.